Okay, so we are live. It's another day where I woke up way too early and can't get back to sleep. So I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way. Might as well do this now. And this is an unboxing of G.I. Joe Classified Series Outback, or Stuart Outback Selkirk, as it says here on the box. Outback, or as they call him in Canada, Outback. Uh, Shout out to any of my friends in Canada who might be watching. Uh, he's one of my favorite GI Joe characters and has been ever since the comic book storyline where him and Stalker and Quick Kick and Snow Job go undercover on a mission. And by the way, that's one of the few missions where we get to see our heroes out of their usual uniforms. And I kind of wish that maybe like it had been a different character other than Snow Job in that story, since like without their uniforms, these guys could be twins, him and Snow Job. But Snow Job made sense for the story because in addition to being, an Arctic trooper, he's also a con man, and he's the kind of guy you'd really want to have on an undercover mission. So I can't really complain too much about that. But it was still the sort of thing where it's like sometimes you have to try to figure out which one is doing what by what their dialogue is or whatever. So that's a little bit of a challenge to us as a reader, and it's not really the people making the comic books fault that these guys look alike, but it was still kind of funny. So yeah, again, we have a big piece of artwork on here and a little tiny picture of the figure over here. Uh, by the way, at the time of this recording, it would have been yesterday that I read it, or at least late last night, early this morning, however you want to phrase that. Hasbro has announced that they are going back to having a plastic window on the box. So you see, squeaky wheel gets grease. I've been complaining about it every single video I've done on one of these figures with the solid boxes, and now Hasbro has finally relented and gone back to having a window on the box. Now, I'm not saying that me personally I affected the change, but you know, I've been saying it in every video. Somebody's listening to me. McFarlane started putting artwork on the cards instead of pictures of the action figures, which is another thing I've been saying. So I'm just saying you're welcome. Anybody who wants the plastic window back on the box, like the people who matter, watch this show and listen to what I have to say. I'm not trying to get a swelled head about it. I'm really not. But the proof is in the pudding, my friends. But this is nice artwork. It's a really cool picture, a very unique art style. Uh, Looks like almost like it was done with what do they call those, pastels? So the French kind of really soft crayons. You know what I'm talking about? So, and then on the back we get a picture of the figure and a layout of the weapons and everything like that, which will become unnecessary once the plastic window is back on here. I do regret though that we're going to have some of these figures that are in this solid box, and if you're a little OCD about your collection, you're just going to have like a couple of waves of figures that just don't fit in with the rest, and that's unfortunate. And like I say, I get why Hasbro did it. It's admirable to try to want to do something to, help the environment a little bit, but I kind of feel like it was unnecessary. And while their heart was in the wrong place, their head was in the wrong place as far as that went. So yeah. So kudos to Hasbro for trying to do something good, and kudos to Hasbro for listening to the fans when it didn't really work out so well for us. So let's go ahead and get this stuff out of here. And then we have Outback. There's a good look at the figure. So, and probably should have thought to bring Tiger Force out back with me, but he's back in my room right now. So I didn't really think about it. But it should be pretty identical to this figure. This should pretty much just be a repaint of that particular Outback. So we have a little piece of garbage in there that I'm just going to throw away and not even look at. So much for helping the environment. I will not miss these stupid little paper bags. Let's go ahead and have a look at the accessories, even though we already kind of looked at the figure, but we should have a lot of accessories. I won't lose of them in the process of doing this. I'm dumping them onto the arm of my chair. You can't really see it that well. That's not too much. Sure, we'll look forward to going back to them being in a little plastic tray, and I can just take them out like normal. All right, so if you saw my video with Tiger Force Outback, you should be familiar with all these. We got a submachine gun. We have a shovel with a little hole in it, so we can attach that to the backpack. We have big old flashlight, which anybody who had the vintage Outback figure will remember. That flashlight attaches to his leg. This one also attaches to his leg. We got a knife, nice little knife. Got a sidearm, automatic pistol with a flashlight attached to the front of it, some tape around the handle. The tape around the grip, that's what to me makes it seem the most sort of outbacky, if you know what I mean. Like it makes it kind of fit that character a little bit. So and then we have the ammo clip from the machine gun, and like with the other submachine gun, I'll probably wind up gluing this into the gun eventually because I don't want to lose it. It seems like it's a slightly tighter grip than the other one though. So, but there it is with the magazine in there. And then he wouldn't be Outback if he didn't come with a gigantic backpack. So there we go. All right. Well, let's go ahead and free him from his cardboard prison. Got little paper ties on there. I think what Hasbro ought to do is if they really are listening to me specifically. I mean, I joke about that. I don't know if anybody from Hasbro is actually watching this show, but it is nice that they are listening to the fans. In all seriousness, I think it would probably be a good idea maybe to stick with them being just kind of tied straight onto the cardboard backing rather than having that plastic blister in there. I mean, as long as you can see the figure, I think that's the main thing. So yeah, get rid of the little paper envelopes to hold the accessories. I don't like those at all. So Outback, as we can see, he has a web gear that's on there, and like most of the classified web gears, this seems to be like it's made to be permanently on here. Now, there's ways you could take apart the figure, and you can take this off as if you choose to do so, but I don't think it's made to do that. If you get my meaning, so he's got nice muscular arms. He's not an oversized character. He's about the size of your average classified figure. I mean, since I happen to have Duke right here, well, and Duke is probably the most default GI Joe character. You can see that they are in fact a similar size. I think maybe Outback is a little bit bulkier, but that's good because he's supposed to be kind of a muscular character. But he's not supposed to be as big as, say, I would think not supposed to be as big as, say, Roadblock or even Gung Ho. Even though the figure of Outback was bigger than either one of those guys, because that was when they were finally starting to figure out how to make a muscular GI Joe character. They'd already made Sergeant Slaughter, so they were edging into making some of these characters a bit bigger and bulkier. And unfortunately, they wouldn't get around to doing Roadblock as a bigger, bulkier character like he needed to be until the 90s. But you know, gotta start somewhere. All right, so since this is a repaint of Tiger Force Outback, he has all the same accessories, and they should fit all together the same way that that one did. So let's go ahead and first of all, we'll put the flashlight into its little bespoke sheath. So we got like a little strap on his leg that holds the flashlight. Got a couple other little straps on that hold the flashlight. So there we go. His sidearm should fit neatly into this holster. Not too tight, not too loose. It's in that perfect Goldilocks zone for a holster. And then we got the knife, and that'll go into his sheath, his ankle, just like how the original vintage figure had a knife sculpted at his ankle, but this one is actually removable. So I often comment when I'm doing these GI Joe reviews about like when I was a kid and I had a GI Joe figure that had a knife at his ankle, or like with the 82 figures, how they had the knife on the web gear at the front. How I often wished like you could probably like take the knife off and have an extra weapon there. But you know, honestly, back in the 80s, I would have lost every single one of those knives. So it's probably just well. Backpack should fit on the back. Goes right through the hole in the web gear. Allegedly, this one's maybe a little bit of a tighter fit than the other one. I don't remember struggling with it like I am with this one. And then it should line up with the hole in the back of his shirt. So there we go. There he is with his massive backpack. And then of course you got the two little holes, or the two little pegs, I should say, on either side. And you can use that to hold his entrenching tool, as they say in the military. Like civilians like me would call it a shovel, but in the military they call that an entrenching tool. And then you're an entrenching tool. I should have done that the other way around, I think, actually, because I think the rifle will go better on the other side. So let's take that back off again. We'll put that on the other side. But they can go either way. Technically, they can go either way. But I like to have the rifle over here because I feel like it just works a little bit better because of the strap. And then you can also put the submachine gun on his backpack. So, but honestly, since he's got one of the few that have a strap on it, I probably prefer to have the strap slung over the shoulder. Although you could probably do both even, and have the strap slung over the shoulder and still sticking on that peg. But I'm too lazy to figure out how to do that right now. I'm sure there's a way to do it, but I'm just not going to fool with it, especially because I'm just going to take it right back off anyway. So we want to have at least one picture with him holding the gun. So his hands do seem to have a little more flexibility to them that some of the earlier ones did have. So it's a little easier to get his gun into his hand. So that's good. Articulation wise, this is one of those where the instead of the vertical articulation like I like, it's got that horizontal articulation. So you can see it bends this way and that way. Other than that, this is pretty much standard GI Joe classified articulation. Got the standard ab crunch, not the bazooka type ab crunch. He can do the splits no problem, if not for these accoutrements on his legs. So if you took those off, he could probably do some splits, but you know, without them. But with them, it's just gonna kind of hinder his movements. And he's got the double jointed elbows, which are a little stiff on my version, but I'm sure they'll loosen up eventually. Never force your joints. Always use a little bit of heat to soften them up if they're being a little stubborn on you, because you do not want to break the joints. Got the double jointed knees. We do have a boot cut. We have boot cut, ladies and gentlemen, and then the cool rocker ankles. And it's pretty much your standard G.I. Joe classified articulation. Paint wise, he does have the red hair, unlike the Tiger Force version, which had white hair. Now, the original Tiger Force Outback was a foreign figure. I believe it was only released in Europe. So maybe they were just kind of playing fast and loose with the continuity or whatever. He does not look as much like Chuck Norris as the 25th anniversary version does, but I think he's got enough of a resemblance to Chuck to satisfy any of his fans. He has survival written straight across the chest on there, which is a fancy acronym. Look it up. Got the web gear, like I said, which the web gear on mine kind of shifted around while I was putting on the backpack. So I'm going to go ahead and lower the belt and tighten that back up. It is really nice web gear. I do kind of wish it was removable. Most of these G.I. Joe classified figures, I don't so much mind the web gear not being removable because, there's not really that much need to have it come off. Like Stalker's web gear can stay on. I don't really care. But with him, I kind of figure some fans might want to display him just without the web gear, so you can just see the survival T-shirt unencumbered. And honestly, it doesn't cover it up that much. You can still see most of the logo. It's just kind of barely covered up on the sides there, and it's still legible, so that's fine. He's got kind of an olive drab pants with some gray camo on it, which that is definitely reminiscent of the original Outback. That was how his pants were. I do believe that I know that the gloves were gray. I remember that very specifically, and that the Tiger Force Outback also had gray gloves. I don't remember offhand what color his boots were. They could have been black. They could have been gray. I don't know. But I don't really mind him having black gloves. But I do kind of wish he had gray gloves, I mean, like, that would have been more accurate to the original figure. But I don't really blame them for going with black gloves instead. I don't blame them if they didn't notice, if that was an oversight and they gave him black gloves because they were thinking the original figure had black gloves maybe, or maybe they just thought that was a better design choice. But I might wind up repainting the gloves just so it has a little more fidelity to the vintage figure. I love the sculpting on the head. I'm pretty sure this is a separate hair piece, but the way that the hair kind of layers over the headband, it gives it a nice look. It gives it some texture and some three-dimensionality. Good job with the T-shirt and the way that you can see the wrinkles and the way the T-shirt is kind of like, stretching over the musculature. He should be a really muscular guy because the original figure was a very muscular figure. And like I said, I kind of felt like they made the original one kind of oversized because that was when they were just figuring out how to make the figures kind of muscular. Outback really shouldn't be like a gigantically huge guy necessarily, but he should definitely be cut and be in good shape. So that G.I. Joe storyline I was talking about, where they go undercover, the mission winds up going bad. And Stalker, who is the commander of that particular mission, Outback is basically the only one besides Stalker who isn't gravely injured, and Stalker has to stay behind with his injured men. So he gives Outback the order to escape the country and get back to civilization because nobody knows why they're there. because it's like a really top secret mission. So he's got to be the guy who goes back and lets everybody know what's going on. So the storyline mostly took place in the regular GI Joe series, but one chapter of it takes place in GI Joe Special Missions, and Outback has to escape, and it shows him using like every skill that he has as a survivalist to make his way back from this hostile foreign country to countries that are a bit more friendly to America, shall we say. So, and then when he gets back, some of the other Joes just think that he just like turned tail and ran like a coward and left his buddies behind when that was not the case. So there was a lot of tension there, at least until Stalker and Snowjob and Quick Kick were rescued, and that's a whole nother story. I'm not gonna spoil all this stuff for you because it's a good comic book story, and you ought to go and read it. It's definitely worth reading. But yeah, Stalker comes back, and him and Quick Kick and Snowjob were grateful that Outback went through all that for them. So that was something that sealed this guy as being one of my favorite characters. It was just such a great story, and it's definitely worth reading. It's some GI Joe comics at their very best, and GI Joe is one of my favorite comics. So that ought to tell you, I think that's just some of the best comics, period, really. But yeah, Outback, definitely a character you want to pick up for your collection, especially if you don't already have the Tiger Force version. Now, that having been said, even if you already have the Tiger Force version, this is the more definitive look for the character. So you're definitely going to want to have that in your collection too. Like if you only had to have, if you could only have one, this would be the one I would think to have for that very reason. But personally, I love the Tiger Force version also, so I'm glad to have both. So I'm very pleased to finally add this guy to my collection, and that is the third of the figures that I got from Amazon this week. Amazonageddon is not over though, because I still have Catwoman and Indiana Jones that I have to open. So I'm planning on doing those next week. Also, if you're interested in GI Joe classified figures, I finally managed to get the Tiger Force Duke with the Ram Cycle. And if you've been watching my reviews where I talk about the Tiger Force figures, I am a sucker for the Tiger Force subset. So I'm very happy about that. I'll buy every single Tiger Force thing they put out. Put out for my friends in Canada. So that's pretty much it for this episode. But tune in next week when I will be opening Catwoman, Indiana Jones, and the Ram Cycle. And that will finally bring Amazonageddon to a close. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. If you'd like to participate in the chat while I'm doing these live, make sure you hit the little bell thingy, and that'll warn you whenever I'm going live, and you can tune in and interact with the chat if you choose to do that. I don't necessarily make these to be live streams with like a lot of chats and everything, so don't feel obligated. But I never mind interacting with the viewers whenever somebody wants to stop by and say hello in the chat and make a comment. I always like interacting with that. But it's not really the intention. I just do these as live streams because it's convenient for me. So don't feel obligated to do that, but don't feel obligated to not do that. You know what I mean? Like whatever you feel is comfortable. I'm cool either way. So I really enjoy doing these live streams and opening up the action figures and sharing my thoughts with anybody who stumbles across this page. And you're always welcome here. So hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.